After the success of the movie premieres of both Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, the Dragon Ball franchise took its next step forward with the introduction of a new TV series named Dragon Ball Super. And with its first arc, it began the retelling of its first movie, Battle of Gods. Hey guys, if you're a fan of the content that I put out, please hit that subscribe button so you're always up to date with all my latest content. And remember to like and share this video with your friends, and I'll see you guys down in the comment section. There were many positives and negatives in this first retelling of the first movie, and what I plan to do in this review is tell you guys what I liked about it, what I disliked about it, and hopefully it intrigues you enough to actually take a look at the franchise if you haven't seen the franchise, or if you have seen the franchise, it gives you a moment to look back and reflect on the arc itself. The one thing I really liked about the arc is, plain and simple, it was the dawn of a new TV series in Dragon Ball. It premiered in Japan on July 5th of 2015, and this was the first TV series that we got of Dragon Ball since November 19th of 1997, which was the last episode of GT over in Japan. And it had a high popularity coming in because both movies, Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, were so popular. So it was, at first, it was always going to be popular right off the bat because you have a wave of Dragon Ball fans coming into the new series. So there was a lot of hype behind that very first arc, even though it was a retelling of a movie and we already knew what was going to happen. So that would be one of the first positives of this retelling. However, with this series, there was also some negatives, and one of the biggest negatives was the fact that it was the retelling of a movie. As the audience, as fans of Dragon Ball, we went to go see this movie, so we saw this movie, we enjoyed it. So when we saw the retelling of it, to put it bluntly, it was kind of boring because we already knew what was going to happen. There was very little changes that were made from the movie to the series itself, and even though there were some tweaks that were pretty interesting, overall it was the same storyline, so it was very redundant, and a lot of the early episodes seemed to drag, and it really, if you were a first timer watching this, it would intrigue you, if you have not seen the movie, that is. But if you saw the movie and then you went into the series, it's just very redundant and very slow at the beginning of the series. And another major issue that Super had at the beginning of its start is animation problems. One of the most infamous animation problems that Super had was in this Battle of Gods arc, and it was when Super Saiyan 3 Goku fought Beerus for the first time. In the movie, it was spectacular. It was super well animated. It just looked beautiful. But in the series, Toei really dropped the ball here, and they really should not have done that because in reality, that was the first major fight in Super. So it was heavily promoted. They should have known that was going to get a lot of airtime, so they really dropped the ball on that one. And even now, when you go on the internet, you can find still photos of that fight in particular in Super and just how poorly animated it was. And that wasn't the first and last time that we would see poor animation in Super, but it was the beginning of what would become a major problem in animation in the series. Now, one thing that I personally really liked in the retelling of the Battle of Gods arc was the way that Toei made Beerus seem more menacing in the TV series. He was menacing in the movie, but in the movie I felt that he was more playful, angry. That he got angry over silly things, over there not being pudding, the food getting hit by a ball or getting slapped on the back, stuff like that really set him off. But it was very tiny, silly things in the TV series, even though there were still hints of that, like when Yamcha slapped him in the back, and obviously the pudding cup incident is what triggered the whole event, so that had to continue from the movie to the TV series. But there were scenes that Beerus looked very menacing. The first one is when he first meets Vegeta. That scene, when they're on the boat and Vegeta sees him for the first time, there's this feeling in the atmosphere, in the air, that's really, really dark and really intense. And I really like that because that's the way Beerus is supposed to be represented. He's a destroyer. He needs to be feared. And I felt that the movie didn't do that as good as the TV series. Another example of this is the Bulma slap. In the movie itself, it wasn't that big of a deal. He hit Bulma, she fell, and then Vegeta did the My Bulma thing that is very famous now. But in the TV series, the slap itself was emphasized so much, and it got some backlash. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people thought it was over the top, but I personally liked it. I like that touch. I like that sense of, man, this guy actually just hit Vegeta's wife in front of him, and I like the attention that it got itself. Finally, the conclusion of this arc was probably the best work of the arc itself, and that was the fight between Beerus and Goku. There was very little flaws in this fight. The animation was great, the intensity of the battle was great, the dialogue was great, both on the Japanese version of it and the English dub version of it. Both sides did very well. It was, in essence, the highlight of the entire arc. And I really enjoyed this because it was different from in the movie. In the movie, obviously, you're going to have better animation because the budget is better, but I felt the intensity of the fight was different than in the movie. Obviously, you had that effect of the ripple effect of the universe being torn apart, and I thought that was a nice little touch that they added to the TV series. But in general, the animation was beautiful, and I really, really enjoyed this fight. I thought the fight itself was better than the movie, which is hard to say because most of the time you have a bigger budget, and the movie's always going to top the TV series. But in my opinion, I really felt that the TV version of the fight between Goku and Beerus was a little bit better than in the movie. And it just really, really put this arc over the top. And any negatives that the arc had before seemed to had vanished or were put aside because that ending fight was so well done and so well animated. But I want to hear from you guys. What are some of your favorite moments from the Battle of Gods TV series? What did you like about it? What did you dislike about it? What did you feel the movie did better than the TV series? Go ahead and put your comments down below. I want to read, I want to discuss, I want to debate with you guys and interact with you guys. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.